Hello and welcome to the fourth and final video of HPE Aruba Networking's VSG expanded series covering AOS 8 to 10 migration. If you made it this far, then you have a general idea of what it takes to successfully migrate a customer from AOS 8 campus mode to AOS 10 in New Central. In this last session, we're going to walk through a demo of a CLI-based parsing tool that was created in-house, and we're making it available to our partners to save anywhere from a few hours to several days of manual parsing and discovery that we typically would do in a deployment. So let's dive right in. Here we have a quick overview of the configuration discovery workflow, just to set the context for the discovery tool demo. Typically, we log the CLI outputs, we analyze the hierarchy, collect the controller settings, inventory APs and MCs, collect AP group information, trace the VAPs and other associations, map your SSID profiles, trace AAA radius chain, document roles and ACLs, and repeat this for every VAP. So if you have 4 SSIDs, you can do the same thing in these red sections for every virtual AP profile. So it can get quite time consuming, especially trying to tie all of these together. Now, you take this information, we use 3 key commands in AOS-8, show AP database long, show run on the controller, show config node hierarchy on the mobility conductor. And for this tool, we've added a 4th one, show run on the switches. The output becomes the AP and controller serial number and MAC address in a CSV format for GLP. This means that you're going to be able to take this exported CSV file and upload it directly into GLP. It is already formatted in the way that GLP expects it. So all of your serial numbers and MAC addresses will be uploaded at once. MC config will give you RF, WLAN, and other information in a human-readable format. The hierarchy workflow will provide an AOS-8 hierarchy diagram for central scope planning discussion. And the switch inspector workflow will provide a spreadsheet of switch profiles and API calls for the match settings, as well as a text file for all of the different lines in the config that did not match. And here's a list of helpful resources that I will provide links to in the description as well. But here it's just breaking it down. You can pause the video and take a look at the different questions that these pages can answer for you. And now onto our demo. So the first thing that we do is we have to acknowledge the terms and conditions. So here it's having you acknowledge that this is not a migration tool. It is just for config validation. So you still have to do your due diligence and make sure that you are reviewing your CLI outputs. Now, check that box to accept. Click continue. Actually, before we continue, let's go back here and take a look. There's an FAQ section by clicking down here at the bottom. You take a look, click on each of these questions, and you'll see an answer for you to review. So let's get back in here. You see our 4 workflows. The very top one, device inventory, click on that. It's going to ask you to paste the output, show AP database long, and show open flow controller switches. So I'm going to grab sample show AP database long output, as you can see here. Control A, Command A, copy, come back here, paste it. I'm going to take the show open flow controller switches output, Command A, Command C, Command V, parse. So here's the table with the serial numbers and MAC addresses of every device, everything from the APs, and then the last couple of serial numbers and MAC addresses are for the controllers in the second box that we pasted. From here, you can just export the CSV file, and once you open it, it's going to be a standard CSV file. Now, go back one more time. So in that first workflow, we've gathered all the information that we need to onboard our devices for this particular example project. Next, we go to MC config, click on that workflow. I'm going to take the show run output from one of my sample controllers here. Give me a second. Right here. Command A, Command C, Command V. Click parse config. Now at the top here, we see the mobility controller information. This is the information that you're going to need when configuring that particular gateway once you've upgraded to AOS 10. So in a 2 controller cluster setup at a site, you would take this information for controller 1, for example, and then make sure you have it available when you start configuring gateway 1 in Central. And then below that, in this card here, you see AP groups. This is a list of the AP groups found. I've seen as many as 80 AP groups listed here, so this can scale. The way that I see this working is you would have a conversation with the customer about which AP groups contain your production SSIDs. So in this example, we click on Office Standard. Just like in the CLI config output, you're going to get the different profiles that are nested under that AP group that'll help you build the configuration in the new central platform. So things like the AP system profile, if you see that it's not listed, typically in AOS-8 CLI, it indicates that it's using the default profile or default configuration. And if that is the case, then you'll see not listed here as well. So AP system profile not being listed means that it's using the default settings. Radio profiles, you can see it's created the Office Standard Radio AUI for the .11a radio profile. And as I mentioned before, the EIRP min and max are not listed, which means it's using the default. Here you see EIRP max of 9 for the 2.4 gigahertz radio. So that one is not default. And also here for the 6 gigahertz radio. Regulatory domain profile information. And then for your virtual APs in this example, so let's say you have the SSID profile for your first WLAN, CorpNet. Here's the SSID profile name. So you can go back in the CLI output and do a Control F, Command F, and search for that particular profile to see where that config is and compare it against this, right? So you see here is CorpNet is the SSID, security out mode is WPA3 with the description right below it. And then it provides the Radius server group, in this example here, and beneath it, you'll see your list of Radius servers. In this lab setup, I only have one server. And if you issue a encrypt disable command prior to running the show running config that you're logging, it's going to provide you your secret keys in clear text. So you can grab that information from here if you want. Here you have your transmit rates. Normally in AOS-8, you check the boxes that you want to have enabled. And in the CLI, it's going to list you individual data rates. This tool will provide the min and max because this is what you normally will see in Central. It'll give you the VLAN ID that's associated to it, AAA profile. It's going to give you your initial and default roles. And if you wanted to, you could expand the role and see all the different policies that are referenced. And then you'd see the same thing for the others. As you can see here, this is enhanced open. So it's not going to provide you the pre-shared key or Radius servers, and this information is not going to look for it. You can still do the same thing as expand your roles. Here's a pre-shared key one, where it does give you the passphrase. Here's your Corp WLAN. Here's where it'll show you multiple servers. And here's an example guest WLAN that's configured for a captive portal. So it'll give you some of the guest configuration, but you still need to dig in to get the rest of the information that you'll need. And then for the roles, this is the entire list of roles. So you can click on these roles that you want to view and then click export. And it's going to export the text directly from what's viewed on the screen into a plain text format. If you do not expand any of these, it's going to only give you the list. Because it's printing it right off of this page, you must make sure that you expand the ones that you need prior to hitting export. Now, you go back. Hierarchy. I'm going to take show config node hierarchy output. Click parse node hierarchy. And on the left, you're going to see something that resembles the AOS-8 UI on the Mobility Conductor. So you can see your hierarchy in a typical tree format. And on the right, you're going to see your hierarchy diagram and how this tool interprets it. Right? The way that it's being interpreted is if it's a device, it'll be the bottommost node and it'll be classified as devices. Whatever it's nested under, Miami, Chicago, or any of these other places, those would be their parent node. So those would be the sites because every device has to be mapped to a site. Now you have your devices and your sites. Your topmost folder becomes global. And in this example, we have more levels in the hierarchy than New Central will have. So I mentioned this in the previous video. You cannot nest site collection within a site collection. So you will have devices, sites, site collections, and then global. That means that if you end up with more nodes, more levels than New Central will use, you want to have a discussion about the ones in between here, how you're going to flatten this into one single row, and that will become your site collection. So for example, you have retail, and then under retail, you have this MG Lab, you have Chicago, and then you have East and West. So the discussion becomes, do you make this retail underscore West and retail underscore East? Do you get rid of retail and just call it West and East? Or do you get rid of East, both of these, and then just map every single one of these sites to the retail site collection, for example? It's all going to depend on the discussion that you have with your customer. You need to consider where the configuration is applied, which one of these nodes has the most information. You may find that there's not much information in the retail side, and it's all done here in West and East, or you have all the information up here and not much here, then that'll help you decide what is going to be your site collection. Now on the switches side, click on Switch Inspector. On the Switch Inspector, you can paste a configuration just like the other workflows, or you can choose a file and click Inspect and Download Config. Then it's going to be downloaded as a zip file. I'm going to extract that. You see the two files in that exported zip file. Take the spreadsheet. You can see here, you have the configuration line in the existing config file, submatch condition, the matched line, profile category, profile name, and API name, and the URL for each of these. And then the text file will provide you the non-matched lines. So this gives you a list of the lines that it didn't catch. And last thing I'll mention is that each of these workflows contains instructions at the bottom. You can click on the button here to expand. Here's the instructions for what I just walked through right now. The other workflows will have the same thing at the bottom. And that's it. This is the last video in the series. With the right planning and a tool like this to help you accelerate your discovery process, you can tackle even the larger projects with confidence. So check the description for the link to the tool, along with links for other helpful resources. Thanks for watching and wishing you success in your next migration.